Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to collect together all the different things that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you. I get it from different places like my local record store, of course, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. So I've got 22 things to run through with you. I got some CDs, some vinyl, box sets, you name it. I got some of the cool stuff here. I've had a really awesome week, both in new releases and just cool scores. So we're gonna get into that here in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you're going to stay up to date on everything going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds. All right, so as always, I like to jump into new releases. And first one up was a very cool one. I know a lot of you guys were keeping an eye out for this one too. And it's the 50th anniversary of Judas Priest's debut album, Rock-a-Rolla, now getting a 2024 remix and remaster, of course. And what's awesome is that they also reproduced the packaging. If you can see it there, it's glossy, it's embossed, it's raised to the touch. It's just very, very cool. There's the inside of it, which actually talks a little about that remix version and the original backside of that. So very, very cool. If you didn't already check this out digitally, because it dropped a few months back, we were able to hear it at that time. In fact, I did a full review of it at that time, breaking down all the differences on it. It's totally worth it, in my opinion. It was like everything that I didn't like about it got fixed. And that's usually not the case in these remixes. You kind of always hope like they're going to take this part out or that part. Sort of case in point with the most recent Black Sabbath Forbidden remix, I wanted them to take out the rap that was in the opening track that Ice-T did. I just never felt it fit, but they left that in. Whereas on here, there were some volume fluctuations and weird things in it when they did the guitar solo bit. That was an instrumental piece that was on there. And now they've just made it a regular sounding guitar solo at a regular volume and everything. And to me, it's now listenable. So there's things like that that they changed that were very, very cool about this. And again, they're not replacing the original. You could still get it. So this one here is just a new way to hear it. All right, next up, and I'm going to do my best to say it because there seems to be people that think that I am improperly saying this all the time. Storace. Okay, I don't know how else you guys want me to say it. I'm phonetically pronouncing it as best I can when you guys spell it out to me. But anyway, it's Marc Storace from Crocus, doing a second solo album, or well, it's under the band name Storace, but it is his second album outside of Crocus. And if you like Crocus, you're gonna like this. So the cool thing though is that at the time of announcing this, he did say that Crocus is back. Crocus is going to move forward, that they will be two separate entities. So this version is not going to become Crocus, that sort of thing. We don't yet know whether they're going to tour, make a new album, do anything of that nature, but he's going to have two entities, the solo project as well as Crocus. So very cool. Glad to get hold of that. That's on Frontiers Records. All right, this next one here I had kind of high hopes for. VanZant, and this one here is titled Always Look Up, and it's their attempt at Christian rock. So, you know, the band starts off and they do, of course, the Southern rock, and then they moved into country, and now they're doing Christian rock. And the first two singles that came off of this album, I thought were pretty good, and they weren't overtly Christian in terms of the lyrics or things like that. There's a lot of this other stuff that's really kind of on the nose, right in your face. That's a little bit too much for me. So definitely check this out if you think you might have an issue lyrically with it, content-wise. Musically, it's really good, but it is, some of the stuff is pretty blatant, like just look at the song titles. Awesome God, Jesus Christ, Holy Moment, Praying, Why God Brought Me Here, you know, Leaning on the Cross, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's pretty much, you know, as on the nose as it can be for a Christian album. Nothing wrong with it. just letting you guys know, because some bands like Striper don't lean into it that much, and they're known for being Christian, whereas these guys are not known for that, and they very much leaned into it. But as I said, it's a very good musically album. And of course, if you don't know who VanZant is, it's Johnny and Donnie VanZant. Donnie from 38 Special and Johnny from Lynyrd Skynyrd. So those guys coming together to make that album. Next up, the third Sunstorm album with Ronnie Romero fronting the group. A number of albums, I think I want to say about 5. Before that with Joe Lynn Turner, former Rainbow vocalist. Now we got Ronnie Romero, also former Rainbow vocalist, taking over. No one is original in this lineup. It's kind of a weird thing. Frontiers Records put it together as a vehicle for Joe Lynn Turner. He decided he didn't want to continue with it, and they got Ronnie Romero to continue it, but the lineup changes all the time, so no original band members, no original vocalists. The only person, in fact, that has been part of this for some time is Alessandro Del Vecchio. Now, he's not playing on it, but he did write, I believe, all the songs, if not the bulk of them. So he is still involved. But I gotta say, this album here really surprised me. I'm a big fan of Ronnie Romero's vocals. Sometimes I think there's too much of it out there, because Ronnie is one of those guys that you can hire to sing for anything. But this one here did come across really, really well. So if you're a fan of his vocals, I do recommend checking this one out. It is called Restless Fight. All right, this next one also dropped digitally a solid 3 months back around August. And I didn't kind of expect it to hit me as hard as it did, because I'd already heard it during the digital release. I did a review of it at that time. I really liked it, but then I haven't listened to it at all since then. And I'm talking about the brand new Smashing Pumpkins album, Agora More Mai. And this one here just blew me away. I already liked it digitally, but having a physical copy that I can pop in and listen to, it just did it even more for me. So I was really glad that it wasn't one of those things that when I did the digital review of it, just because it was new, it was great. But even after 3 months and not listening to it, when I put it back on, I just thought, wow, how is this album just not exploding? It is so good. Very much a throwback album to their 90s era, in my opinion. Now, the only thing I want to complain about here is the packaging. So in all their other ones, they usually do some really high-end, unique packaging. The last one had a sort of a slip cover sleeve that went over it. It was a triple album. The one before that came in a plastic sleeve that was see-through, that layered up into something very nice. They're always doing stuff like that. Well, this one here doesn't say Smashing Pumpkins anywhere on it. You flip it over, no song titles, anything like that on it. You have to open it up in order to get that. Then you have this opening here, but there is no booklet in it. And so all we get is the, if I can even get to it, the CD itself in no sleeve, and that's it. So I was kind of bummed overall. The packaging just really blows on this thing. But the music is so good, and I guess that's what we're all really here for, is it musically. So I'm certainly enjoying that. Okay, this one came out a couple weeks back, but I kind of was hesitant on buying it, and then I finally bought it. And I'm really glad that I did in the end of the day. Green Day, American Idiot, the 20th anniversary box set, 6-disc version, 4 CDs, 2 Blu-rays. You get the original album. You get B-sides and bonus tracks. You get the demos, of which there's 3 demos that are unreleased, songs, Live at Irving Plaza live show, and then you get 2 Blu-rays in here, Heart Like a Hand Grenade, and you get the 20 Years of American Idiot BBC Live. So very, very cool. And if you've never seen inside one of these, this is my first one from them. First of all, I just like that it's all at this scale. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but you get pins inside it. In this case, we get a little patch. We got stickers. You get a fairly thick booklet inside here, which is nice. You get the album itself in gatefold sleeve style, and then you get all the other ones in just regular sleeves. They're not gatefolds or anything, but it's sort of like all the bonus material looks a particular way and is in its own sleeve, but they keep the album itself very unique from that. And just, the extra stuff. I mean, I'm not going to play with the stickers or the buttons or anything, but it was really nice to open this little box up and just see that stuff. And like I said, it was my first one, so I hadn't seen it. I now have gone back and seen that they've done that for their other boxes like Dookie. I don't know if it's in the Nimrod, but okay, the box set that was the one that I was waiting for and the one I've done a full review on is the U2 How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb box set that comes with the Shadow album, How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb, which has 10 tracks gathered up to make that alternate album, 5 of which are unreleased. I guess some of the other ones might be B-sides or things like that, but they were new for me. I didn't know any of them, so I was getting 10 new U2 songs, and I gotta say, I've been playing that album non-stop. It's never going to replace the original. It's not as great as the original, but it is darn good. There's a lot of great songs on that I easily could have heard on the original album, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. There's songs that could have been big hits. If they had put this album out today and not called it a Shadow album and released it as a box set and called it brand new, you would have hits off of it. That is just my opinion, but that's how I feel. And so I've been loving that album nonstop. And a lot of you guys complain that it's a cash grab and you don't want to shell out for it and all that crazy stuff, and that's fine. There is a standalone LP edition dropping for Record Store Day for that Shadow album. Also, you can stream the Shadow album. So you've got other ways to do it cheaply if you don't want to get the full box set. But I think it totally made it worthwhile. You also get a live show, a remix, and the remastered album in here. Plus you get book and other stuff with this. So I thought it was a very worthwhile box set. It was a good deal. The box goes for about $110 on Amazon. So, you figure it out if it's going to be worthwhile for you or not. But for me, at least, it really was. All right, so here's something I found at Sound Exchange, flipping through some old Record Store Day stuff that I didn't know anything about. Night Ranger, Wasted Time, a 2-song 7-inch. And I immediately picked up on the fact that it has the road case like their most recent album. So I thought, okay, maybe it was a single to precede the album, but I quickly checked and the songs Wasted Time and Free do not appear on it. And when I did more research, found out that it was 2 new songs that don't appear on that album. So standalone 7-inch double A or A and B side, but unreleased. And I love Night Ranger, man. I love anytime I can get unreleased music, but this ran under the radar. I would have picked it up at the time if I knew that there were 2 brand new Night Ranger songs that I didn't already have. Okay, I've still got a chunk of CDs to run through with you guys. And so trying to think if, I don't think I talked about being into Better Than Ezra, but I did recently pull out the most recent album, Magic, and it really just connected with me. It's their brand new album from 2024. And it didn't do anything for me when it originally dropped, but I pulled it out and it just clicked perfectly. So now I've been digging in, trying to get more stuff. So I found Paper Empire. This album going back, I think, to the early 2000s. Could be later. I didn't know that Kevin Griffin, the frontman, had a solo album. So that was really cool. And I want to say this is like 2017, 18, somewhere around in that time frame. To see if I can find the name of this here. Anywhere You Go is the title of this. And if you like Better Than Ezra, that's exactly what this sounds like. I've been a lot into the whole alternative rock scene and most specifically the 90s era of this stuff. I got back into Soul Asylum and Goo Goo Dolls and Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and of course Better Than Ezra, and really all started with No Doubt and Gwen Stefani and her solo album from a week or 2 back. So one of the things was I was looking into Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and I didn't know that the band had broken up. I didn't realize they had a falling out between the front man and the rest of the guys, and they split. And then that's where this comes from, the Defiant. And I had seen this come out, but I thought it was just a side project. I didn't know it was a new band. And so this is Dickie Barrett, the front man of Mighty Mighty Boss Tone, his new band. And you got members from The Offspring and Smash Mouth and some other groups and stuff. So it's a super group of alternative rock guys coming together. And it came out in 2023. But yeah, that's the new direction of Dickie Barrett. And it's got a very Mighty Mighty Boss Tones style sound to it. Okay, so I mentioned Gwen Stefani kicking things off, her having out her what is really fifth solo album, Bouquet, but that's only if you take into account the Christmas album. So fourth solo album of original material. And I went back to the third one that I never bought. And this is called This Is What the Truth Feels Like. And at the time, this was just a little too pop for me, and so I didn't get it. Well, musical tastes are changing all the time for me, and so I finally just decided to buy it because I was enjoying her stuff and No Doubt stuff so much. And I'm really glad I did because it ended up connecting with me the right way. Definitely more on the pop side of things, but it just worked for me. And I do like pop music. I'm not against it or I don't know, dislike it in any way, shape, or form, but I only like certain elements, and I definitely like it more when it's 80s pop than when it's any other style of pop. But I love her voice, and so getting to hear her sing and whatever the style is works for me, but that turned out to be pretty cool. And the one and only No Doubt album that I didn't have, the Beacon Street Collection, and this is an original one that the band self-released in '95. It is their second studio album, 10 tracks that were discarded, that were not going to turn up on Tragic Kingdom. And when the band thought that the label was not going to release Tragic Kingdom, they went into the studio over a weekend, recorded these songs, and released it as an album just to get them out there. And the label was so impressed that they decided to release Tragic Kingdom. And of course, we know the rest is history. That album went on to sell 10 million copies in the US and huge around the world kind of a thing. And it's their biggest selling album. But I thought that was interesting. I never knew that the 10 songs on here were songs that were written for the album and rejected or discarded, weren't going to be part of the album. And so the band went in to record it. The label thought they were just going in to record an A and B side for a 7-inch single release. And they came out with a full album and self-released it on Beacon Street. That was where they were living at the time in a house together, which is why it's called the Beacon Street Collection. And I thought it was just a collection of demos. It wasn't an actual album. I thought it was something that somebody who owned the rights had put out. I didn't even think it was an official No Doubt thing. And in doing a little bit more homework, this is why I always talk to you guys and try to give you some history and explanation on these things, because in case you guys have assumptions the way I do, it might clear it up for you. But I love doing my reading on stuff and finding out that, nope, that was just the way that the album was titled. It's an official release, and it was their official second album. All right. Again, last week or the week before, Burton Cummings dropped a brand new album, the frontman for Guess Who. And one of the other ones that was reissued at the same time, along with the album Heart, was this one, Sweet Sweet. I haven't opened it yet because I got so much other music, so I will be cracking into this one. But this was a reissue, and I enjoyed the new album. And I bought Heart, and then I enjoyed that so much that I wanted to pick that up. I also picked up this one here, Woman Love. I think this is 1980. Found the import version of this that has a bunch of, well, I don't know if it has bonus material and stuff like that, but I know it's the reissue. It's digitally remastered. It's got a great booklet and all that sort of stuff. So I was glad to find that because those are out of print. All right, a while back, I talked to you guys about Kiko Loureiro, the former guitar player with Megadeth. I think he comes from the band Angra, and doing instrumental albums, and I did eventually pick one up. But this one here was like, I don't know, $30 or 25 or something around 20 bucks, I don't know. And then it had a crazy price for shipping, 35 bucks or something ridiculous like that. I don't know, it was nuts. So the price tag was $60 to have it shipped from Brazil when ordering from his website. And this is not available from Amazon or anything like that. Well, I did get it, but I didn't order it that way. I went on eBay and I found a Brazilian record store selling it for $25, shipping included. Now, unfortunately, it took about a month for it to get to me, but it did get to me, and I do have it. And I basically spent less than half of what it would have been had I ordered it direct from Kiko. So I'm really glad to get it. I would love to have given him the money, but all the money was going to shipping. So I don't feel like he's losing anything in this regard. But I did get it, and I gotta say, this is phenomenal. If you're a fan of those couple Megadeth records that he made, if you're a fan of Megadeth, if you're a fan of thrash metal guitar, and you're a fan of instrumental guitar, this one here, man, is where it's at. This is so good. I've been listening to it for the last month, and I'm still enjoying it now that I got a physical copy of it on CD. G-Force, the last Gary Moore album that I did not have, the one that was released under G-Force, although if you look at the spine, they were releasing it under the name Gary Moore G-Force because that's how most people know this. But so we had a band called G-Force. They made one album. This is a Japanese edition of it. Glad to get this, have this in the collection. Like I said, it was the last Gary Moore album that I didn't have of his rock stuff. I don't have Skid Row, the blues stuff, and I don't have the stuff where in the late 80s, very early 90s, he shifted back to the blues, just not my cup of tea, but I own everything else in that middle period from him. All right, talking about all the alternative stuff that I had been picking up, I'll do a quick run through this stuff here. So a couple Green Day albums that I had back in the day that I had gotten rid of when I kind of got bored with the band and changed my mind, wanted them back, so I bought them back into the collection. Nimrod, which turned out to be absolutely excellent. I'd forgotten how much I liked this album, so much more than Insomniac, and so much more than Warning, where this one was a very bland album, and it's the album that made me stop. It's the reason that I never bought American Idiot back in the day. I just was kind of done with them. It all was starting to sound the same to me. It wasn't moving me the same, and I'd moved on musically. But I'd come back in recent years. I just had not gone back and bought these two albums. So added these back into the collection, used prices, didn't pay very much for them. Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, Question the Answer. This one had Kinder Words and Pictures to Prove It. This was 94, 95, I can't remember the exact year, but first Boss Tone albums. The follow-up album after this was the one that was really big, that sold platinum. But this is the one that started to break through for them. It was my first one. And I was surprised to see that it wasn't in my collection. Again, somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, I cleaned all that stuff out and got rid of it because I wasn't listening to it. And that was in an era when, if I needed money to go buy new music, I would sell off stuff and then I would have money to go do it. Where now I just hang on to everything and so glad that I do. But occasionally I have to buy stuff back in. Now this one I'm not buying back in, but I just never had the original album cover for the Gin Blossoms, New Miserable Experience. In fact, if I can pull out the original, or not the original. This is the one that everybody knows. That's the new one, but this is what it used to look like. And I'll flip it over. So there's the backside of the original and the backside of the one that became so popular. I actually think that this is a far better album cover than this Van. I don't know why they thought this was a better album cover, but I don't know. Anyway, I found a copy of this at Sound Exchange. Anthony didn't even know he had it. He had 2 copies though. And when he saw me, he was like, "Where did you find this?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, it's out there on the floor kind of thing." And so he was like, "Oh, I got to go grab one of those." So pretty awesome. I got that one for the collection. And the last thing, the Wallflowers Red Letter Day, or Days, plural, Red Letter Days. So this was a weird one here in that 2 of the songs off of this appeared in TV shows. So they did the theme song to a TV show called The Guardian, which I think only lasted 3 seasons. And I first, Shazammed that because it sounded like Jacob Dylan, and it turned out it was. It's just added as a hidden track on here, so it didn't make the album officially. But the 4th song on here, Everybody Out of the Water was in the TV show CSI, the original series, which I think they've retitled as CSI Vegas. And they were up on stage, they were guest appearing in the episode kind of thing. And the song was so good. It was a heavy rocker. And I was just like, wow, what album is this from? And it turned out it was from this one. So once I realized there were 2 songs in here that I actually really liked, I had to go pick this one up. But yeah, that's the stuff that I picked up this past week. So a lot of alternative rock for me, which is just where my mind has been at. But you guys know that I love traditional heavy metal and 70s classic rock and glam metal and just a whole host of other things. And my mind goes through different styles. And it actually all kind of worked out really cool because with the new U2 box, the new Smashing Pumpkins dropping, and then being in the mood that I was already in, it just lined up perfectly for where I was, because sometimes, new album drops and I'm not at all in the mood for that style of music, and it's kind of like the Better Than Ezra Magic. I'm assuming that dropped at a period when my mind was somewhere else, but it now clicked with me. But this time, the U2, the Smashing Pumpkins, all those things, the Green Day box, it all just clicked perfectly. So I've been having a great week musically. And I've hit off to some record stores and done some other things, and I've got a ton of stuff for next week too. Plus, don't forget, next week is going to include all the record store day stuff, so it's going to be a massive week. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.